Welcome back. It's time for video 2 for Unit 10. We continue to study our notions of homeowner purchases and mortgages. So with no further time wasted, let's go talk about PITI. And if you're really one of those cool people who want to call it pity, I guess we could do that. All right, let's get this thing fired up. Well, I have to tell you, when I bought my first house, this was an instance that I ran into where the bank that I borrowed the money from said, "Look, here's what we want from you first, or we want you to pay the principal and interest every month, but also every month we want access to enough to cover your real estate taxes. We want access for enough to cover your homeowner's insurance." Those last two categories I paid to the bank. All right, and they put that money into an escrow account, and when those bills came due yearly, my taxes were paid by the bank using the money that I had popped in month by month that had been saved up in that escrow account to take care of tax purposes, and in a similar fashion for insurance. So this is not an unknown situation. I don't know if it happened to me because I was young and they said, well, we got to keep an eye on this guy. We may not take too many chances. Let's make sure every particular year we've got enough to cover what we need. So it's something that you may encounter when you seek your mortgage opportunities. And if so, it's not shady. It's just all right. Every year we're gonna make sure that money's allotted. It's going to be in the hands of the bank or the lending institution to process what they need yearly for the tax purposes and the insurance purposes. All right. So it's just again for the purpose of somebody lending you the money, it's their guarantee that the obligations are being met because they're making the payments. And even though you and I say, well, this is my house, we take the mortgage and say, oh, come on over, I'll show you my house. Well, it's not really your house until the loan's wiped out. So from the perspective of the bank or the lending institution, it's their house, it's their property. You're living in it, meeting the obligations along the way. It's not really yours until the loan wipes out. Financial guidelines. A great number of people are going to require that your expenditures for your house, including your taxes and including your insurance, don't exceed 28% of your gross income. And again, you find out that when you're talking about buying a house that on the market is $600,000, it doesn't take long for that to exceed 28% of your gross income. At the time that I was looking, they were saying, your house expense shouldn't be more than a quarter of what your gross income is. So that's changed a smidge. And again, from lending perspectives, they're gonna analyze how much other debt you have. All right, and they're going to compare your debt to the amount of money that you're earning. And according to your author, they're hoping for something not greater than 36%. And even though we all love like beautiful houses that are statuesque, be careful. The fact that your house is worth $800,000 and you don't have enough money to buy a peanut butter and jelly sandwich isn't a good thing either. So don't let your dream house, just blow your budget to smithereens. All right, you and I are going to calculate PITI for Fran. Lovely home, Downingtown. Sale price is $600,000, 20% down. Mortgage loan she's going to take from Best Bank at 30 years, 7.5%. We'll calculate the monthly payment, which is what we learned on video 1 of this unit. Then we're going to go ahead and calculate her PITI amount that will span principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And you'll see that we've got some numbers there that we'll use later on for property taxes and for insurance purposes. So there's our formula. Throwing some values your way, make sure you're happy. 80% of that $600,000 price is in fact $480,000. That's the amount of the mortgage. 7.5% cut by 12, still 0.00625. That reflects the monthly interest rate and the number of months that it's going to take to pay this mortgage. Again, for a 30-year span, 30 times 12, 360. Plug in line. Dell's going to add those two numbers on the bottom because he's so good at that. Calculator gymnastics, make sure you're grouping your entire denominator. And you can notice that we now have a payment amount, and it looks like it's $3,356.23. That's a pretty sizable chunk of change, but that's not a small house either. All right, so you got a $480,000 mortgage, so you're paying pretty sizably every month. That, my friends, is the first two letters of PITI. That's the principal and interest every month for that property. Okay. So moving as we into the last two letters of that abbreviation, the T and the I, we're going to now take a look at what happens as we bring those figures into play. All right, that covers, as we said previously, the principal and the interest for the mortgage. How about the taxes, man? Well, the taxes, according to the numbers, are $5,000 per year. If that sounds like a lot, it is. All right, that's school taxes, and you hear people complaining, I don't understand why. Yeah, okay, it's just the way it is. All right, so we're going to spend that based on a yearly thing. We'll cut it by months, 12 months in a year. So each month to cover my taxes, I'm sending to the lovely financial institution $416.67 that they'll stash into an escrow account. When the tax bill comes at the end of the year, the money's there to pay it. Same idea for insurance, $2,400 insurance for my property, 12 months a year, $200 every month to cover the homeowner's insurance in case there's a fire or, a tree limb falls on my garage. All right, so what do you mean? Well, that means that every month that home, just to buy that home, to be able to say, this is my house, every month I'm going to have to add a whole lot of numbers together. And every month I send, or every month I should say, in this case, Fran is sending to Best Bank $3,972.90 to cover her principal and interest for the mortgage loan, in addition to an escrow amount for taxes and an escrow amount for insurance. All right. If by chance Fran gets the bill for taxes or Fran gets the bill for insurance, she forwards them directly to her lending institution, in this case, Best Bank, and they make the payments. That is PITI. All right. So we did a calculation of mortgage payment, and actually it's not too strenuous to figure out the tax and the insurance escrow amounts. So reflections for you to think about. You notice that every month that outlay for the house was $3,972.90. And here's what we probably know about Fran. She's got a pretty good job. She's making some serious bank. You have to, if that's what you're paying, just to say this is my house. All right, you've got a whole lot of other things that you're going to have to come into and take care of for expenditures on a monthly basis. You got to eat. It's interesting. That's where my brain went. But you have all kinds of other bills that you're going to pay. You got the trash. You got Wi-Fi. You got to be able to afford Netflix. You have to. So it's not to be trivialized, the amount that we spend for our homes. Hidden costs in terms of buying your house, closing costs, document fees. Generally you're talking about how much pay the lawyers to look at and these are often in terms of points. You might have a 2-point charge. You know what that is? That's 2%. So it's a percentage of the mortgage amount. So it adds up a lot. The escrow we've talked about previously as it relates to PITI. Repairs and maintenance, obviously you don't know what that's going to be until you need it. Got to keep the place looking good. The PMI insurance is, and sadly, this was a player for me as a young guy. We didn't have enough for a 20% down when we bought our first house. So we wound up having to spend extra, in effect, for PMI, for private mortgage insurance, in case we would have defaulted. So the amount for that private mortgage insurance, I wind up paying extra every month. I wanted to take a quick look for you at the difference between interest rates as it relates to mortgages. And, you hear people very concerned about what's prime rate doing. Is it going up? Is it going down? The current status, I think I heard this morning, is they think that maybe eventually we'll be diminishing rates. So we'll see. But you know what? If you say, well, I got it at 5%, the same property, all right, the same property, 30-year mortgage for $160,000. And you see that the payment amount for really a 2% change from 5 to 7, pretty significant from about 850 to over 1,000. So a difference of $205 every month. If you say, well, what does that amount to over the span of the 30-year mortgage? It's a lot, it's a lot. It's a difference of $74,005. It's like, oh dear. And again, there's no magic here. You're simply taking the mortgage payment times 360 to find out how much you wind up spending. And notice that, we're taking away the 160 in terms of finding how much the interest was. It's sizable. So a lower interest rate can wind up being a tremendous benefit to us as a mortgage taker. All right. Another one, we got calculating total interest costs for Fred. He's got this lovely home in Exton, sale price 340 grand. Good old Fred, he's popping down 20%. Mortgage loan, best bank, 30 years, 7.5%. We've already calculated the monthly payment on this very same number, so I'm going to cheat and use it. All right, if you remember, it was $1,901.86. So over 30 years, which spans 360 payments, he's going to spend a lot of money. He's going to spend $684,669.60. That is not a lot of chance. That's a ton of cash. All right. Well, how much of that was interest? Well, remember, he borrowed 272,000. Remember, it was a 20% down. So that's 80% of the 340. So he borrowed 272. And that means the balance that he's spending, the difference between those two numbers, references how much interest he spent over the life of that mortgage. And sit down, hold on tight. That's over $4,000 or over $400,000 in interest for that span of that mortgage. And that's frankly what's going to happen to you and to me when mortgage time shows up. It's these numbers are on the documents they signed. They're staggering. You have to sign saying, yes, this is a loan I'm agreeing to. And right there in front of you is like, okay, over the span of this 30 years, you're going to wind up spending $412,000 plus for the use of this bank's money as you make the purchase. It's not a trifling amount. It's something you need to be aware of as we go. And that, my friends, wraps video 2 for Unit 10. I'll be back soon with video 3.